Hello everybody, it is the me again, Penguin21, and today, I'll be honest, I kind of just stole this one from Moment of Sanity. And in my ongoing efforts to try and do more like video essay content and more like high effort-ish stuff that like, you know, maybe moving away from just doing regular salt content, it kind of baffles me that in the amount of time that I've done YouTube, there's a lot of ideas that just never went anywhere. There's a lot of ideas that have come back from the dead, and a lot of ideas that are just kind of just gone. These are usually just scripts and things that I had recorded or made somewhere, just things that were just lost to time. And, well, I'm gonna try to go from like the oldest ones that I can remember to the newest ones, and I'm just gonna go through a bunch of the ideas and just explain where they are now and what the hell even happened to them. And yeah, I know, Moment of Sanity did this like whatever amount of time that this amount took to do and stuff like that. But obviously I take inspiration from the people that I watch and the people that I like. And obviously me and Sanity are kind of close-ish, I would say, and this is one of those times where I think that that's fine, and again, it just kind of puts a lot of things into perspective and where those ideas are probably going to be coming back, or whether those ideas are just dead and gone. And yeah, I had a number of ideas when I was like actually putting out a bunch of these things, so we're just going to kind of go through them, and I'll give you my thoughts as to why I decided to either destroy them, continue them, or whatever the heck even happened. So with that being said, let's get started. So this was actually a series that I used to do. You can still find the old Random Thoughts videos on it. This was mainly just a way to just, I guess, start talking into a microphone to get used to it in some way, shape, or form. They were never scripted. They were never actually made with the intention of going in to talk about things. They were made with the intention of, I had some topics and I wanted to talk about those topics, and I didn't care whether or not those topics were all connected or cohesive or in any way, shape, or form the things that I wanted to even talk about at the time. It was, I guess, my foray into trying to make more consistent content, and I don't really know why I stopped it, because I now do commentary, which is a lot of the same things, giving off of my random stuff. And in this context, I think that I did a good job of evolving it into my current commentary salt type content, where I just literally find videos, find things in there, and just say, hey, this is exactly what I'm going to be talking about. And it actually becomes a little bit more poignant because I have an actual thing to kind of compare my thoughts to, which is good, because actually trying to script things is still, as you'll see in this video, very much an ongoing process. So, yeah. The Versus series was one that I actually did when I was doing a lot of Rainbow Six Siege content back in the day. I still think that I could go back and do this if I decided to download Rainbow Six Siege, but the only problem with the Siege content now is that it's more just like not my game anymore. And to kind of put myself through hell to try to compare specific guns to specific other things and all that other stuff was something that was more analytically done back in the day. And while again, I still have a lot of those same thought processes, the Versus series just, to me, kind of went nowhere. Because while yes, the Versus series was a very good idea, it never really got the views and stuff that I wanted, but it always took a lot more effort than I would be taking out of the series in and of itself. I could bring back the Versus series, or the Versus idea, kind of do game versus game, which in theory actually could be cool, but then I'd kind of be just ripping off Death Battle in one way, shape, or form, and I don't really want to do that. The only reason why the Versus series in this context even worked as well as it did for the amount of time that it did was because I was comparing a game that I knew to mechanics that I understood and what they could do. Going back and even watching a couple of those videos was actually kind of cool. I still think that one of the best ones was, I think, like Ash versus something else in terms of like popularity, but if I were to go back and redo it, I would definitely put in a lot more effort into doing audio editing, as well as putting some background tracks into there to actually kind of make it so that way a little bit more entertaining than what it was, like how I'm going to be doing with this one. This one is just a thing that happens because I went from one to another, where, again, I went from one specific content niche to another specific content niche, because, again, I used to actually do a lot more video games than I do now. The only problem with the various playthroughs that I ended up having, at least in terms of how I've explained it, is I would record too much. What do I mean by this? Well, I would have usually 2 to 3 hours of recordings to go through in one sitting whenever I was playing video games, because no one just sits down and plays video games for like a solid 10 to 15 minutes and then just says, and we're done. Like, that's not how that works. And in a lot of ways, I used to go for 2, 3, maybe even 4 hours without actually doing anything. And I would always be very upset whenever I had to, like, edit down content like that, because it meant another 2 to 3 days of editing. And not even just days of editing, of constantly trying to figure out what the fuck was happening. And to even try to make it entertaining in the first place. I also never liked how back in the day I was just never as much talkative as I am now. The reason why I like doing commentary is because, well, I can talk into the microphone and not really have to worry too much about getting good gameplay or getting good this, because that can be all done separately, and it's more of a step-by-step process, which, I mean, I guess kind of shows you how consistent I can be in this. Yeah, this one's just a thing that I just do automatically anyway now, so there's really nothing much else to say. I was gonna be basically trying to make a sort of full video on like console warring and how like the history of that kind of led to the current console stuff, but in the end the script never came together, and the audio and stuff never really felt like a good way to kind of make it work. I do think that this is an idea that I think could work if I just, you know, had someone to help me script out the video better and give and bounce off ideas from, and then help me with the actual video process, because that video essay should definitely be there. To go along with that as well, we have the history of video games essay that I was also been working on for a while. This is just something that I've been interested in for a long ass time, but it's been fallen by the wayside because it's a lot of history to cover, and overall, holy shit, this would be like an undertaking and a half, much like how an undertaking and a half took to get my VR chat documentary, which has been my channel trailer for like years since I released it. That thing took like weeks and even a month of my time out of the way of just straight up doing interviews and talking points, which is just insane. This is one of the scripts that just kind of, again, I did the whole thing, and it just never worked. But again, I did this during a time when the Arena FPS was actually dying, and, well, the Arena FPS is doing a much better constants now, so I guess that's fine. And again, the script, the time when I started to record it, was already outdated, and I just didn't like how it came together. It just didn't work. To kind of follow up on that, we then have Why the Future is Possibly Indie, which is another one that kind of goes hand in hand with the Arena FPS thing, and that whole essence and stuff kind of just didn't work. And again, it just gets to the scripting process, it goes into it, I go to record it, and I can't think of anything that makes it entertaining or interesting or anything like that. These are just a bunch of the various reviews that I would have liked to do, but in the end, I couldn't. I think I've done a couple of these in one way, shape, or form as like Patreon videos, and me talking about making them Patreon videos, but all of these are just various video games that I would like to talk about more, but overall talking about them more kind of ruins them, or again, I can't add anything interesting or new to the conversation. We have Starfield, 70 hours later. This is after I've completed the actual game, as the original review was more or less a first impressions. I had a lot more updated impressions on how the game actually didn't really work well overall, and how it wasn't actually that memorable when I'm now looking back on the entire 70 hours. At least in terms of games like Elden Ring, which I had like over 100+ hours in, which, again, about the same amount of time, I still remembered various points of the memories of me defeating specific bosses, and me going through the specific trials and tribulations, and even the rage of it in turn was one of those things where I can remember it, but with Starfield, I couldn't really remember anything. It was just a lot of running around, busy work, and kind of not funniness or anything like that. It just kind of went maze blah. We then have Inscription, which is a various roguelike card game, which I had been trying to make a review on, and I just never made it entertaining. I think I did release this as like a Patreon-only video, where it was just the unedited audio over some of the Inscription clips. I really just don't think that I have anything more to offer on the game, as it's been talked about to death over and over again. But the one big thing that I loved about it is that the gameplay and the story integrations are kind of like so deeply intertwined in such a way that once you get past the first part of the story, which is the part that majority of people tend to talk about, like, the rest of the game is just kind of okay, but it just serves a very interesting story, and I really wanted to talk about it, but I don't have anything else to add other than the fact that play the game. It is a good game, and it has very good mechanics to it. We then have Rumble, which is a VR earthbending simulator type game. I don't really have much else to say other than just watch other people who know more about it than I do. I'm not even a black belt as far as I remember. I stopped playing the game, and that's just one of the things there. Updated versions of things such as Tarkov and the Finals. Both of these just deserve their own like videos in general, absolutely, but both Tarkov and the Finals are games that I've talked about to death to other times, and the Finals more so. And very more updated video on what I wanted happened, and all of that again just kind of falls by the wayside because I don't have anything more to talk about, because those topics to me have been done to death, and I don't want to be stuck in one specific topic for forever. And of course, there's also Half-Life 1 and the Half-Life series in general. I did want to talk about Half-Life 1, but I at least wanted to complete it first before that. But again, Moment of Sanity kind of beat me to talking about Half-Life 1 and the finals. He beat me to talking about Half-Life 1. And again, I think that if nothing else, I agree with most, if not all, of everything that he's said or she has said throughout the time that they have been talking. It is just, yeah, it's one of those things that just ends up happening. Next up, we have when did free-to-play games become better than paid-for games? This is one where I just had a bunch of actual topics that I wanted to talk about with free-to-play games, because most of the games that I play nowadays are actually free-to-play games. I mean, we have Fragpunk, we have the Finals, we have Delta Force. All of those games are free-to-play, and they have very good gameplay loops. And again, I wanted to talk more in depth about them, but the script never came together, and nothing ever really came about it. This one, you might be surprised to know, I just didn't want to do it. Because, again, I wrote the script, I went to record the audio, and it just never happened. Like, it's just one of those ideas that really just petered out, and I didn't really have anything else to add to it because I wasn't, like, an anti-furry commentary type channel. I still am not. I don't really have anything to talk about because I just don't have anything left of the project now. If I were to go back and redo it, I would have to literally dig up old tweets and old stuff and stuff like that. And I think that it's because he was like a person that was on my channel and talked about it. But again, I'd have to literally kind of dig up his old stuff, which I don't even know if it's there anymore. Finally, we have Single Player Sundays, which that one, to me, I just literally repurposed. Originally, Single Player Sundays was meant to be kind of an upload schedule where I would upload a video every Saturday or Sunday and of me playing through a single-player game. I did one episode of the series, and it followed under the same thing as most of my various playthroughs. It just never worked. It never was, like, good enough because it was just me playing through the game, which at the time I was doing more or less the entire time. But having a series of that is what I wanted to happen. So I decided that very recently I was going to repurpose it as me playing through games on stream, which actually makes it a lot more bearable to do because I don't have to worry about editing, I don't have to worry about doing this, and I could just play through the game and have it fun and enjoy it. It didn't become a job to me. So yeah, that's one of the ideas that actually got repurposed into a newer idea because the old idea was garbage and I didn't like that. So yeah. To kind of round off this video, we have many reviews of, frankly, things that I don't know what to do, and there are many small topics I could never try to get through with the time, with effort and scripting problems, as well as there's just too much to talk about in terms of even just my niche entirely. And before people get on my butt and say, oh, well, you stole this from Sanity, one, I admitted I stole this from Sanity. Of course I did, because, again, I take inspiration from people, the commentary community, various other people and stuff. You could literally take a bunch of my videos, and I could literally say, oh, yes, it was inspired by this, this, and this person. There are ones that are inspired by Soviet Womble. There's ones that are inspired by of the old school commentary, or old school gameplay guys like Markiplier and Jacksepticeye. You have some that are more about for Vanoss, trying to emulate his style. Some meme type content, even stuff that's inspired by regular media and stuff. Because overall, a lot of this is just me being inspired by other people verbatim, practically. Coming up with ideas is fucking hard, and like it's nearly impossible to make an idea come in one end out the other, like with any memorable amounts of thoughts put into it that allows you to then, make them the same as they were. And yeah, it kind of makes a good point there about like when you're bored or just wanting to make a person laugh, that the ideas that in your head work for you don't necessarily work for other people. And there will probably definitely be more ideas that just come up and just make it and then just make their way into the garbage, into the bin at this point. But there's no reason to not continue to try to make stuff, obviously. I've had a person come to me consistently over the past several months or whatever that I've known him to say, hey, I'm doing this, what am I doing wrong, is there anything to it? And here's the thing, I don't have all the answers to that. I would say if you want to get into content creation, just starting is a good first step forward. All this other stuff, all this extra equipment, all this other things that I do, like streaming and talking into this microphone and the audio editing and the DJs and the live streams and all that other stuff, that stuff is extra. That stuff is stuff that I do because I like it in short, for pretty much. But it also helps with the numbers and growing. That doesn't necessarily mean that the game in and of itself is rigged or that you should just stop talking or stop creating. Just create what you think. But if I were to give any tips to anyone that's trying to make ideas, trying to go into content creation, here's my 3 big ones. Number 1 is finding your niche, finding your voice, finding where you fit into this puzzle and what you can do to it. It usually is tending to be stuff that you can talk about for a while, stuff that you can easily research because you're just doing it or absorbing the news and stuff automatically, stuff that can be easily kind of talked about to you and you can find your people around. Number 2 is to try to keep your ideas as, maybe not neutral, but to keep them as consistent as possible. Whenever you're going forward and backwards on ideas in terms of over years or months is different than if you were to say in the microcosm talking about other stuff. And 3, don't be afraid to get hate comments. And that just comes with any sorts of popularity contest when you're talking about it. And overall, that's really all that I have to say. If nothing else, content creation is a tough business, and it's definitely not for everyone. And if this video is to say anything, this right here, it shows that I'm just human, and I can only have so much time on this earth to do the ideas that I want to. But overall, I think that'll about do it for this episode of I Rant Into This Microphone about ideas and things that completely make me just want to get depressed because I really want to make those ideas, but can't for whatever reason. If you like what it is that I do and want to support me in any other way, shape, or form other than like and subscribe, which is always enough, links down to everything in the description below. Be on the lookout for all of my other stuff to everything, and if you again want to keep up with me on a daily basis, here is probably the best option because I post on the community tab, as well as maybe my Twitter and a couple other places. Overall, thank you so much for watching, and a peace off.